faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's I, Walter. Yes, it's I, Walter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. I, Walter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of I, Walter.
All right. Hey, this is Walter. I've been off for quite a few months now, and I figured I would give it a shot tonight and try to do a radio show because I haven't done one in such a long time. I'm not sure what to talk about. You'd think I'd have a ton to talk about, and probably I do. But at the same time, I'm not sure because it's been. I think the last show I did, honestly, while it's 2018, today is Martin Luther King's birthday, which, by the way, I didn't know this. And I listened to different radio shows, Rush Limbaugh, people the general public may not like, Rush Limbaugh, Ken Matthews, and Bill O'Reilly. So, and to me, they're really cool. So I like listening to them. Ken Matthews, actually, he's from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I like him personally the best because he seems like more on everybody else's level, I guess, so to speak. He's, trying to make himself known. Anyway, I wanted to call this show. This is why I kind of wanted to put one together finally, was I complain about certain situations over and over again, and it was ironic because on Friday, both Rush Limbaugh and Ken Matthews on both their individual shows had stated what I can't state even any better, or at least support my point, I should say. So that was enough for me to okay, I got to kind of do a show now. I haven't done one in a long time. And I'm not sure. Maybe I should just play those segments first and get it out of the way, because I do have some stuff to talk about. None of it's, obviously anything important. It's more superficial, because there's a lot of conventions coming up this year. I thought I would not do this in concerts, maybe less, but a lot of people that I admire as actors that are coming around between the Philadelphia area and also in Jersey. So that actually I'm going to be spending more money on than I really like to. It was funny because one of the people is actually Sylvester McCoy. He played Doctor Who back in the late 80s or mid-80s, and that was the last of the show from the BBC for quite a few years, almost 30 years actually to be exact. So, what is it, 2018? It was the tail end of 2017. So it was 1986 was the last time until they brought it back that Doctor Who was on the air. So I bought this box set from Germany back last year. I pre-ordered because I read some article online that they're going to release all of Sylvester McCoy's in a box set, but it's only being released in Germany, which is kind of stupid. It's a British show. So I ordered this. It was it's a special box set. It's been, licensed by BBC, but they only released it in Germany. So that came in the mail about a week ago, and I started watching it. I was they're not too bad. I can appreciate it more now. So on my big Sylvester McCoy kick for a while, amongst other things. Stranger Things, I've watched that in 2 days. I watched both seasons. I'm obsessed with that TV show now. Stranger Things. It's actually, yes, it's a TV show, but it's actually a Netflix original TV show. So, and it's funny because the one main actor, this kid, the main kid, actually played in, which I did not know this, he played in It, the movie It, because I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute, that looks like that kid from Stranger Things, and I love the movie It. I don't think it was as bad as my one friend who did not like it. I think it was actually pretty cool. It had some interest and twist, and it actually had a feel, in many ways, a lot of little hints here and there that definitely had Stephen King's, it was more of a Stephen King feel from his book into a movie transcribed much better, I think, than that previous movie that was made for TV. That's just my opinion. Even though they went a different direction with it, I thought it was done pretty well, really well. And again, it had that main actor who played who plays in Stranger Things, I should say. I love Eleven in Stranger Things. Yeah, and the big thing about Stranger Things, by the way, is Egos. But if you watch Stranger Things, the funny thing is it has a lot of Stephen King in there. Meaning, not like Stephen King like wrote this stuff, but you can see they were heavily influenced by Stephen King. So it kind of plays, like in both, or, admire in both movie and that TV series is kind of funny because they kind of play off of each other, so to speak. But anyway, yeah, going back, but there's a horror fest, and the kids who played in the movie It, minus the guy who plays, the little kid who plays in Stranger Things as well, is not going to be at this horror fest. It's coming up in April or March, I forget. So it's really cool. And then they're going to get all of the guys who played Jason Voorhees at this one horror fest, at least most of them, about 5 or 6 of them, and they're all going to be, all of these guys are going to be dressed in their attire, their costume, when they were Jason Voorhees. So it's going to be very hot for them, I would say. I mean, very uncomfortable, I should say. So, to me, I think that's really cool, and that's another thing I want to waste money on. I did buy some concert tickets, and I can't remember now. One was Demi Lovato. I really don't listen to her. I used to love her, kind of, so to speak, on this Disney show. It was actually really funny. And it was her decision to, end it. So, yeah. So I got a ticket for her, VIP for her. It doesn't mean I'm going to meet her. It just means it's a VIP. And then I bought some ticket to Taylor Swift, which I got. It was funny. I got pre-order tickets. You had to wait in a virtual line almost a couple weeks until they let me pick out my tickets. It was before the tickets went on sale. And I could have gotten, I got VIP tickets, but I didn't get ones that were general admission, which the price was actually reasonable considering what her tickets were going for now. Again, it's Taylor Swift at the Lincoln Field Financial. Well, the thing was, I should have just bought the tickets and sold them back off if I didn't even want them, because I could have made 4 times of what I would have purchased them at. I just didn't feel like standing up for a concert with a bunch of kids who are going to be pushing me over. So I like sitting down. I like being comfortable, somewhat comfortable if I can be. So I bought cheaper tickets, but unfortunately it's going to be a lot farther back on the field. So that was another thing. But going back and forth, yeah, there's 2 different conventions. One's a horror convention, or 2 different horror conventions. It's ironic. Well, maybe it's not an irony, but it's actually in the same month, about 2 weeks apart. And they got Danielle Fisher as her name, or Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris, I think her name is. She plays in the Halloween movies as that little girl, but she also plays in a lot of Adam Green films. One that I like especially is Hatchet. These movies called Hatchet. They just released another one, or will be released another one in a few weeks, right around my birthday, which is February 7th, but I think it's a day before or day after. So I wanted to see Danielle Harris before she was in Jersey, and unfortunately I missed her. So she's back again. And then there's going to be another, at a different convention, one of the guys who played in the very last Friday the 13th. He's got a shaved head. The guy's also related to Adam Green films, but it was he was Jason Voorhees in the very last Friday the 13th. I don't know these guys' names. I can't they don't come off the top of my head right now. So that's really cool. But then again, I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I did, but Sylvester McCoy, he's going to be at a convention. Unfortunately, it's really far north in Jersey. So it's 2.5 hour drive. And it's when I saw Jersey, it's well, Jersey's not that big. Yeah, that's a big freaking state. And it's so far up Jersey, it's you're going past New York, not directly, but on the side, so to speak. You're going past part of New York just to get to this convention. It's like, yeah, I'd really love to meet Sylvester McCoy for some strange reason, even though he was my least favorite Doctor Who. And by the way, I know people are in an uproar because it's now official that the 13th Doctor it has been, not only picked, but it's going to be a woman. And you know what? I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I think she really struck a chord with me when I saw her. Why am I not remembering her name? Who's playing the 13th Doctor? That it was just like, okay, this looks really fucking cool. I mean, it looks awesome. Like, I'm actually psyched to see the new Doctor Who. But unfortunately, it's not going to be till late next year. So I'm trying to look if I can find her name, because it's like, that's one of the few people I can actually remember her name right off the bat. Until now, of course. So I'm going to put in 13th if I can. 13th Doctor Who. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Ken Matthews did, and it goes back and forth, that Martin Luther King was he was a Republican or conservative or something like that. So a lot of people, they don't want to admit to that. I've never heard that before until now. So, and it's funny because 50 years after the fact for me, 50 years of my life, I've never known that Martin Luther King was more of a conservative person or a Republican. Maybe by today's times, maybe it's one of those deals. So that is kind of cool, but he mentioned it, Ken Matthews. Jodie Whittaker, it looks like Jodie Whittaker. She plays on some other shows. She's the new Doctor Who. And it's funny, she looks like Mork and Mindy with her shirt that they give her. And they give her like a Tom Baker kind of offset style trench coat, because it has the same theme as the Tom Baker thing. Now, the funny thing is, her shirt looks like a Mork and Mindy shirt. It's got like these stripes on a black shirt. Now, almost like a rainbow kind of thing, but not in the gay sense of the word, but a rainbow. Now, the funny thing about that is somebody brought that to, the fans like me, to our attention. That's actually the same color, code or whatever you want to call it. Same colors that were in Tom Baker's scarf. So she's got a offbeat trench coat that looks like Tom Baker's in one of his seasons, but it's got a hood on the back. It's got a hood. And then she's got a shirt that's got kind of represents Tom Baker's scarf. So, unfortunately, the season's going to be very short for her. She's only going to have 10 episodes instead of 12 or 13. I think they're just kind of testing, because of all the backlash of having a woman play in Doctor Who. They're afraid it may not do well. Now, I don't know. If it doesn't, then they'll just go back to having a man again, obviously. They can by the next, when she's tired of doing the show, or if it doesn't do well, they'll just get rid of her right away. We'll see. But I think she'll be pretty good. Anyway, I was really psyched. Excuse me. I was really psyched. There's been comic book conventions the last couple years around the house, like right down the street from where I live, and it's excellent. So this year, I hope he doesn't cancel out, but they said that Peter Davison is going to be there. Peter Davison, he was the 5th Doctor Who. Sylvester McCoy was the 7th Doctor Who. And I just saw last year the 6th Doctor Who, which was Colin Baker. So that would be like super awesome. I've seen Matt Smith in person. I had went to a convention to see David Tennant. So I've seen most of the Doctor Who's, and these are the old school ones. So that's really awesome. And the best thing would be is, even though he's up there in age, it'd be awesome to get Tom Baker, because he's a little bit like off the radar now. He's not like the big kahuna he was when he brought Doctor Who to the U.S. How hot, he really was the one who made Doctor Who popular in the U.S. and many countries, I think, in my opinion, was Tom Baker. So it'd be cool now that that's kind of fizzled out a little bit. I mean, people still like Tom Baker. They still think of Doctor Who, and they think of Tom Baker when they think of Doctor Who, whatever you want to say. But, yeah, it would be really cool to have him even play or come to a convention. That would just be awesome. I'd be beyond broke. And by the way, one of the reasons I haven't done many podcasts, going back to that real quick, or change the subject, is because I've been working a lot of overtime. There's this guy from Africa. He tries to talk to me. He's like, dude, I'm sorry. I don't take it personally. I've just been really tired. I work a lot. When I'm off, I just want to kind of just zone out, which I do. I was off for 2 weeks during the end of the year of last year. And I was like, okay, I'll do a couple podcasts, maybe even just one if in 2 weeks. I didn't do any. I was just too exhausted. So what I've been doing, what I was doing, and I'm trying to do again this year, is I worked a lot of overtime. Actually, for the first time in my lifetime, I made the 6-figure mark. I've actually surpassed 6 figures. So that's awesome. I'm not going to kill myself like I did last year. And then I was actually, this is another reason I had to bring this up. I got my test results at the end of the year for this test to figure out where my strengths and weaknesses are. It's almost like an IQ test for a learning disability. So those results came back. And I've been telling people, there's certain things I'm not making it up. I just can't do. I know my limitations, and nobody wants to hear them. They think, well, you're a really smart guy. You went to college. It doesn't mean anything. So I got my test results back, by the way. My IQ level, which I'm not boasting about or trying to look for sympathy, is 78. Well, I hate to tell you, I'm not going to look this up, but an IQ of 70 and below is considered retarded. So I'm not calling myself retarded, but I'm just saying, look what I do for a person who does not who has a lot of weaknesses and not a very high IQ. And, I've proven to people, if you push yourself enough, you can do anything. Because I had, received a associate's degree in one thing, a BA in another thing, a bachelor's degree in communications. And I did it because I had a push. I had to really struggle to get these degrees. It was not easy. It wasn't a piece of cake. I was actually going to I was considering years ago of going to graduate school. And it's like, you know what? At this point, it's not worth it. I am not going to graduate school. Wishful thinking, but it's not going to happen. So, but what it had taken was good old fashioned hard work. And I look at this generation now of these millennials. Now I'm kind of weaning myself so I can do these little things from Rush Limbaugh and Ken Matthews, and how people are just they're just like big babies. So that's probably the more of the one from, I would say, Ken Matthews. So I don't know if I should plug that first, and maybe it will fit in nicely. Oh, excuse me. So I might try that. I'm going to try to put the Ken Matthews thing in. And by the way, since I've been off for a long time, I'm not going to make it a 3-hour show. And I apologize because for the last 2 years, I did an interview with this guy from Ryan, which was great because we had a 2 and a 3-hour show. And it was excellent. And we were talking about doing a 4-hour show this year, 2018. It never happened. It was just like, you know what? I'm just so burned out. I only had a week off from work that I could, window of a week to try to make plans. And it was like, it's not going to happen. So I apologize. I didn't do my, year in review kind of show or intro for the year. So anyway, let me play this Ken Matthews clip and see if it works. I'll listen to it as everybody else will and let them make their opinion on it. So here we go. Here's Ken Matthews first.
And if you take people, to use the metaphor in a high school sports, that come in last or come in next to last over and over and over, and you cheer them, and you give them medals, and you give them award ceremonies, and you treat them exactly like the people that come in first, well, damn it, they expect it when they get out into the real world. And I got news for you. Socialism has failed everywhere. And the liberal ideology in its current state is a train wreck. And I don't know if these children trapped in adult bodies are equipped to handle it. We'll be back.
Okay. I just had to refresh my memory on that what that was about. Yeah, Ken Matthews is obviously he's talking about the liberals, and you kind of can see what I mean. He went further, or Rush did actually the other day as well, where, the left liberals, or I shouldn't even say, well, it is, but government-wise, it's the Democrats have convinced people, minorities of all types and sorts, doesn't matter, ethnicity, which country you came from, I guess it's the same thing, and in sexual origin or preference, every one of those categories is a victim, and they have, weakened these people to feel like they are victimized by white supremacists. So I heard that, and I complain about this all the time. I really do. I'm so sick of it. I mean, that's why I mentioned about my IQ level and getting this test. I had to do this for work, by the way. I had to get this done. I found out I am protected by the government in certain state laws, certain state laws, whatever. It was like a 12-page report or write up on my results, which indicate that hey, I could probably even qualify for certain like government benefits, which people that are perfectly healthy are doing already. So, I hear this nonsense with these other people, and it's just like, really just grow up. And when I heard this thing from Ken Matthews, it was on Friday's show of last week, or it's only Monday, so it was on Friday's show. And it was like, I'm glad to hear somebody say that something that I just seem to be talking about until I'm blue in the face. And that I'm absolutely correct on these facts, Well, it's a guy on a talk show. How do you know that it's factual? Because other people think the same way I do, and I think they actually do their homework. They're just not making an opinion like I am. They're actually going by facts. I go by my, situation around me as well. So that's where I make my hypothesis or whatever, or come up with my ideas. So, that one was really good. And I have another one before I go back to like more lighthearted news. By the way, I'm looking at this right now. Did you hear this? I mean, this just shows you what kind of stupidity we live around. I mean, I have every room to say stupid because I'm speaking from my own, hey, I have a low enough IQ I can say stupid. But I have tons of articles lately that are on on the internet about these freaking kids eating these laundry pods. Like it's how there was like the ice bucket challenge, and I forget there's other goofy ones. There's a new one that some stupid, I don't know who started, these kids came up with, where they actually chew on those laundry detergent pods you put in your laundry, in your wash. They have one, the guy's actually chewing on it. And it was like, oh my God, I tell you, you talk about being stupid. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I just don't understand it. So this is today's world. This is today's society. So a bunch of morons who, hey, somehow, miraculously, when it comes to SAT scores, they probably would surpass me by a landslide because they're like rocket scientists and super geniuses. But yet, here I am with an IQ slightly above retarded, and I am much smarter than they are. So what is that telling me? That it's just like, well, a lot of that stuff is not true. And then you got a bunch of babies in our society that are now running our, they're not government officials. Thank God right now we have a pretty damn good crew. I can't say anything negative about Trump because I voted for him and I still support that. I will vote for him in 2020. So it's not like government officials as much. Maybe some local government officials in Pennsylvania. We got Wolf, because I'm listening to some radio show today, a podcast on iHeart, from Harrisburg. it's live radio. It's 580. I recommend that station, by the way. And all you hear about is how Wolf is just a fucking idiot. So, and he's just bringing up taxes and everything. My dad, when he got elected, my dad said, "Here comes the big bad wolf." Everybody's afraid of the big bad wolf, and he referred to Government Wolf as a sly dog, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the guy is just dangerous, and he's proven it. So you have people bitching, complaining, well, the Republicans haven't done anything. Yeah, well, they do sit on their hands because they're too afraid. They don't want to offend anybody. That's why I'm glad we have somebody like Trump who doesn't take either side. Even though he's putting himself down as a conservative, he really does not take sides. He doesn't give a shit. And look what's happened. Our economy has boomed. So, I just had to put that in. And I'm looking at another story. This has been plastered on the news lately, too. I really wish I could have Todd or Matt on. Todd, the next segment I'm going to play was from Rush Limbaugh. And Todd actually left me quite a few messages that really hit a heartstring with him politically on how truthful this is about our state. It's something I complained about. But before I go on that real quick, there's this guy who drove on a second-story floor building in California. He, jettisoned his car. It's I think it was a Nissan Altima, because that's what my dad has right now. Looks brand new, and it has, what I can't stand, blacked-out windows. This is California. The guy literally hit a divider. He was going full speed, and his car went airborne, and it landed on a second-story building. And, I mean, you talk about stupidity. Now, California, though, is where they legalized marijuana and probably other drugs for all we know. They have sanctuary cities out, it's pretty much a sanctuary state. And the reason I mention that, because they show a picture of this guy, and he looks like Hispanic, or probably, I hate to say this is politically wrong, probably an illegal immigrant. Driving a brand new car, blacked out windows, jettison his car. He flew, hit at top-notch speeds, very dangerous speeds. It was on Sunday. A divider and went airborne. His car was literally flying, and it flew right into the side of a building. And they're walking on eggshells explaining this to authorities. They said the guy was on drugs and he was, intoxicated, over the limit. But he was on drugs. And he's an illegal immigrant, probably, for all we know. So there you go. This is what I'm trying to lead into my next soundbite so I can get it out of the way with Rush Limbaugh. I've said for a long time, maybe I'm not about the illegal immigrants, but I've complained so much for the months I've been off. I said we have more traffic here. And most of the plates that we get, even if they're Pennsylvania plates, they got a plate on the back and the front where there's a spot for the front. There's 2 states around here who have to have 2 plates, New Jersey and New York. And the people who don't have Pennsylvania plates or have a plate where they used to have one on front, they replaced it with something else, do have Jersey and New York plates. And we have an overwhelming amount of people moving in from New Jersey and New York. And I complain about this because they bring their bad attitudes. We get the worst of Jersey and New York coming down here. And why do they come? Because they're tired of paying all these high taxes that they have to pay in their state. Well, guess who voted for that shit? You did. These people from New Jersey and New York. So they're so fed up now, they moved out of their state. They're willing to travel from my neck of the woods in Trooper, Audubon, and where my one friend lives up in upstate Pennsylvania, which is not far from, reaching New York City or, northern Jersey, because he's further north in Pennsylvania. All of these locations are very close to where these people have to go. So they have really ruined our area, and eventually it's become more dangerous. There's been more violence in these areas that I live. I don't even want to go out of the house anymore because I'm too afraid to. And I'm so sick. I'm really scared to even leave the house because of the riffraff we have. So this will lead into the Rush Limbaugh one, by the way. So I've been saying that we're getting the worst of the worst from both Jersey and New York. These are people who are, and I've said this, they're sick and tired of paying all these high taxes. You're the one who are stupid enough to vote for these government officials for your state who are raising your taxes. You're the one who asked for this stuff, and now you're bitching and complaining. So what do? They leave their state, come to our state, and start the whole thing. They don't change their mind frame. They still hate Trump. They still hate conservatism. They still hate Republicans. So, okay, why are you moving here? Well, one reason is because they know that the taxes are lower. They're still making the higher income that they get from their jobs in New York and New Jersey, but yet they still have the same mind frame of being completely stupid, coming to Pennsylvania, and they're gonna change our laws and probably our what we're paying in taxes. Last year, because I was working a lot of overtime, I was paying up to over 33% per paycheck. 33%. And I made way under $250,000. So I'll be getting a lot of money back, but I can thank your lucky stars for these idiots who are moving in that right now with Trump, thank God, I'll get some of that money back, I think, because of these tax breaks. But that won't happen if we get enough of these morons from Jersey and New York who are endangering, where I live, my surroundings, and they're building more and more homes just because of people, these contractors just being greedy, and building homes in between. In our development, they're building homes between homes. They're like literally, there's a small space of yard between our house and the next house, so they put a house in between them. And they're building developments hand over fist, and it's all about greed. It's not about, well, we need more homes, because we can't even support, our sewage system can't support all these homes. And who's moving into these homes are people from New Jersey and New York. So the next time around, what are we going to get? More Democratic officials in our local government. The taxes will be raised. We won't get any breaks. And once they destroy this area with their mind frame of stupidity, they'll probably go elsewhere and destroy some other county. So that's the part that really pisses me off. So anyway, before I go any further, let me play the soundbite from Rush Limbaugh right now. So here we go.
You go anywhere where they have run the show with no checks and balances, and you know what you find? You find people leaving. You find people leaving New York. People are leaving New Jersey. People are leaving Illinois, primarily Chicago. People are leaving even parts of California. And where are they going? They're going to states that have no income tax. They're going to states where there's a little global warming going along, where the climate's a little warmer. And what are they doing? They're bringing with them their destructive liberalism that created the circumstances they're now fleeing.
Okay, so that was Rush Limbaugh, by the way. That was the segment. He does go in both of those gentlemen, Ken Matthews and Rush Limbaugh. They go into other things that I do complain about. I just wanted to make it very specific, and I want to take the sound clips to make them too long like I've normally done. I've done one sound clips that have been 15, 20 minutes long, and it's a little ridiculous. And, hey, it's great for me because I don't have to talk as much and to say what I want to say. So pretty much he said the same thing I did. He does go into other details. I cut that pretty close. I'm going to try not to make this too long of a show tonight. It may only be like 30 minutes or under an hour. Who knows? Because I had somebody just text me, a voice text, my friend Matt, and the sound came right through, and it will pick up on all my podcasts. So I don't want that if I get texts from people. I turn off the text and message thing, but it still comes through. So those were the main things, by the way. Those two things. I was going to basically call this show Kill Two Birds with One Stone, meaning that, two issues that are very close to me as far as concern were both mentioned on Friday, which gave me the incentive of really pushing myself now, to do a podcast since it's been a long time. I think the last one I had mentioned it was a couple months after I was in Blairstown, where they shot the film of Friday the 13th. And I was like, okay, I'll be back maybe whenever. And it ended up being another 2 months, maybe longer. I think at least 2 months. So, I'm a little bit irregular on my shows. Yeah, I'm a little irregular in other ways, too, if you get my drift. Got to watch what I eat. But overall, though, yeah, I just figured I better do a show. So here I am. I'm doing it right now. I just wanted to vent about that certain stuff, situations. And I guess another reason was I knew, I guess this is true. I mean, I have a lot to complain about, but most of the time I used to complain about people at work. And I finally got to the point that it's still there. There's people that bother me, but the ones who really, really bothered me are gone. So that definitely made a difference. So I'm a little anxious this year because we're supposed to be picking up our workload. It should be double what it was last year, and I can't imagine it actually. I don't know. I can't imagine because they seem to have so many problems. So anyway, that makes my shows a lot shorter too. I've actually mentioned most of the stuff I really want to talk about. Believe it or not, I've done it in less than 40 minutes, a lot less than 40 minutes, which is good. Since I want to make it a little longer, make it worthwhile since I've been off for a while, one of the big things that have been going on is, the media has been complaining about Trump referring to some other countries as shitholes. And it's like, well, I hate to tell you, but a lot of these third world countries or developing countries and whatever are shitholes. So I honestly, hey, the man's speaking the truth. And people have a problem with that. So I don't know what else to say about that. I really don't. I don't have much to say. Hey, since I don't have much to talk about, I do want to kill a little bit more time. It was funny. I've been watching these old shows I bought. Like one was Gomer Pyle with Larry David. No, I'm just kidding. I you know what? I'm drawing a blank on Gomer Pyle, and that show's actually really good. It had a lot of it's dated for most people. So I'm gonna have to look him up. I mean, it was back in the 60s, I think. But if you ever watch like shows after that, like MASH, a lot of those actors were on Gomer Pyle back in the day. So, yeah, and actually Jim Nabors was the guy who played Gomer Pyle. And it was funny because some of them were really heart-wrenching shows on Gomer Pyle. And it was funny. One thing that scares me, the leading, his supporting actor for Jim Nabors, which, wow, I can't believe I'm actually drawing a blank. The guy who plays Sergeant Carter, he actually died at the age of 51. And Frank Sutton, I think. And he was 51. I'm going to be 51 in the next couple weeks. So it actually does kind of scare me a little bit. Like, he died, I think, of like heart complications or whatever. I'm trying to look for his name because I think it's Frank Sutton, but I'm not sure. But yeah, they actually the guy Ron Howard, he was on Andy Griffith, and as a little boy, and he was on one of the what do you call it? He ran away from home. He was on Gomer Pyle, and he was a little kid, but it was just amazing. Like, you see, he has the same face, but they have like so many different actors that went on to do other TV shows that were really popular. Yeah, Frank Sutton. Yeah, he died at 51. So, age 51. So, but it was kind of weird. You see a lot of different actors on the show, but some of the topics they bring up are really emotional. I think the reason I like By the Way, because I was a kid when I watched it as in reruns, why I liked Gomer Pyle was because I can kind of relate of being that goofball, annoying person. You know, Jim Nabors played on the show. I can kind of relate to that character. Oh, yeah, Ron Howard played a character named Opie on the Andy Griffith Show, but he was actually on one of the Gomer Pyle shows. But that show is excellent. It was kind of weird because they hit little things that it kind of shocked me. It said that Gomer Pyle was on from 1964 to 1969. I was born in 67. So one of the things they brought up was kind of weird. The character of Sergeant, I was going to say Sergeant Slaughter, but his sergeant, Gomer Pyle's sergeant, it was funny, but they brought up in one of the shows that he was a child that was physically abused, the character, which made, was trying to kind of go a little deeper with his sergeant's character, which came out, like, I think, in the second season, later in the second season. Sergeant Carter. So it was kind of weird. Some of the stuff they brought up was kind of, to me, it was a little bit, I don't want to say racy, but it was a little bit unexpected because, it's supposed to be a family, simple comedy. And yet they went into some really dark issues on a show back then, which I was kind of taken back by. I mean, some of them just really wrench at your heart. So, it was definitely a really, sometimes the character that Jim Nabors plays was very annoying. Definitely irritating. But for the most part, it's actually a really good show. So, just wanted to mention that, hey, pick it up. I picked it up for like $30. There's a couple old shows that I really, I'm going through those right now. And another one I almost picked up last night was this show called The Fugitive, because I bought it in bits and pieces before. Bits and pieces, baby. And Walmart has it now for $30. You can buy the whole series. Because my dad, when he was growing up, he loved this show called The Fugitive. They made it into a movie, but I don't think the movie was as good. I think my dad kind of liked it because he loved the TV show back in the day. But, it was like, wow, I just even give it to my dad to watch again because it's complete. It's the entire series this time. It's not just, it's a couple episodes here for $20 or $30 or $50. No, it's the whole series for $50. So it was actually kind of, or $30. I forget. I think it was 30. So it's because most people forgot about these shows at this point. Definitely forgot about them. So now, it's not a big deal to release shows that are 50 years old for $30. So anyway, since I'm just trying to fill this time space for the next 15 minutes, on a lighter note, I'm looking through my articles right now. There's going to be, they're going to eventually make, this is very off the subject or whatever. Well, everything I talk about is. There's going to be Godzilla 2 coming out, King of the Monsters, released date March 22nd in 2019. So next year there will be finally a sequel to that Godzilla movie, that last one they did, which is going to lead into Godzilla versus King Kong, because that was another one they were talking about. I think that's coming out in 2020. I guess I've been off for so long I haven't talked about other things like Star Wars that came out. I wasn't too impressed with it. I would have talked a lot further with Ryan and Todd about it, because Todd actually liked the movie. I was not too keen on it. I don't think it was that great, the new Star Wars movie. I actually like Rogue One much better. I'm trying to think of, Justice League. I guess I didn't talk about that much. So that was actually pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was actually decent. I'm waiting for be able to buy that. Yeah, I can't think of anything else, actually. Hey, this was kind of interesting, folks. Comicbookmovie.com said some of the fans of the Dark Knight trilogy will be able to celebrate the anniversary in its best way possible. It's going to be like coming out again. It's going to be re-released. You know, the Dark Knight series that was prior to Ben Affleck playing Batman. They're going to re-release those. So in the theater. So that's like awesome. Yeah, I'm just trying to bleed through stuff. It's going to still be a short show for me, especially after being off for such a long time. Yeah, I can't think of much. What else? I can't think of anything else of importance to say. Well, for the last, let's see, 45 minutes, I haven't really said anything that important anyway. You know, I mean, I'm not sure these coming weeks what I'll be doing or coming months. I'm hoping I can get a nice tax return, and a lot of it I'm actually going to, I told a friend, if it comes through the way I want it to, and I get the amount of money back from my tax return I expect to get, one thing I'm going to do is pay off a nice chunk of a debt, credit loan I have. I'm going to pay off this loan I have, part of it. Not a lot of it, at least a quarter of it. So that's my one goal. Then I'll use some money, maybe like $1,000 or so, just for these conventions and stuff that I want to go to. Not a lot, but you know, enough, and for hotel room stuff. So so that'll be interesting. Hey, by the way, I did stumble upon something I thought was kind of interesting. I did post a video on my Facebook page, and it's about this combat veteran that was a war hero who some woman went on his property, you know, and he asked her to leave, and she cried wolf and said he was harassing her even though she was on private property. And it turned into a whole fiasco where she takes him to court even though she was illegally on his property. You know, a war vet. He even has like a Purple Heart. And you have to watch the video because he got so pissed off that he actually burned his uniform with his, you know, medals and stuff, his Purple Heart and everything. And he basically was saying in so many words or less, it's, you know, our government's like total bullshit. They don't support, you know, the heroes like himself. And, you know, they just take the side of some victimized woman who was being hostile to him. And they reverted it to the fact that, you know, she's the victim, even though she's crossing, she's on private property and causing a fiasco. And instead of taking the vet's side, they take her side, you know, 'cause she's a victimized woman. So that was kind of interesting. I would say I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it, but it is on my Facebook page. I would say check it out. I think you're probably going to hear more about that. So it is getting a little bit closer to where I want to be. So there was that. Non-related. There was an article. It would be kind of cool, but completely non-related. There was some article I saw that Circuit City plots a comeback with the website relaunch and smaller stores. And back in the day, I used to love Circuit City. So, yeah. I would love to see those because the only choice I have right now, and I used to love CompUSA. I hate it when that, you know, went out of business as well. It was like my favorite store to shop at for computer stuff and other electronics, and neither one of them are around anymore. Best Buy's cool, but I actually like the other stores better. Micro Center's okay, but I haven't been there in ages either, a couple months. Hey, by the way, another thing was from Bloody Disgusting. They were talking about announcement for another Halloween film with what do you call it? I can't remember her name. Which I there's a reason why I mentioned this movie. I would say just avoid it at all possible cost. God, I can't remember. Why am I drawing a blank? But they said John Carpenter is actually going to do it. Jamie Lee Curtis. Because she went off, a friend sent me a text where she went off on some anti-Trump hate speech and or statement. And it just like, my friend told me, you know what? Just avoid the next Halloween film, even though they're just really bad to begin with. Just avoid it because she's, Trump bashing. And it's just gotten really out of hand with these people. Oh, I can't stand Trump and how I'm so victimized and how everything's so much worse. Well, if everything's so bad, why is our economy, the stock market, the unemployment rate is down, the stock market is up, and people working is just through the roof? Like, there's more people working now than ever before. So, makes no sense to me. But yet, Trump is such a horrible person. Now, a friend did, to play the devil's advocate, a friend did make a very interesting point. Walmart, which I did hear it on conservative shows too, mentioned what my one friend said, Todd. He said, okay, Walmart's owned by Sam's Club, and if Walmart is doing so great, they're raising the minimum wage to $11, they're giving all these benefits to the people, playing the devil's advocate again. All these benefits, how come Sam's Club is closing down all these stores? And my guess is there are probably stores that are not doing that well. And unfortunately, Sam's Club, you got to pay a membership for, who Walmart is the same division as Sam's Club. And you don't pay any private, you don't pay a membership fee. So what are you going to do? You're going to shop at Walmart. And the prices are, you can't beat the prices. I hate to say it, but the prices are really good. So it's kind of hard to say, but you really want to stay away from saying, okay, well, Sam's Club is closing down a bunch of stores. So, how is this great? Because, it has really, look what happened for 8 years when we had President Barack Obama in office. We had more people unemployed. We had less money in our pockets. And, things were honestly much worse. So, and there was even more companies that were moving their work out of the country to other places because of how much it cost the overhead for corporations to survive in this country. And now a lot of these companies, I think I heard GM and Apple actually, are now going to move, now that the prices, they're getting this tax break in the U.S., they're going to move their work back into the U.S. So, you are going to have good and bad with any situation. But if you look at the overall picture, it's gotten much better. Does that make any sense, folks? Like, okay, yeah, there's a couple companies that are downsizing in one area, but then they're increasing their workforce in the other areas. And they're increasing what people are getting as far as their pay and their benefits. And they're also passing on their savings to us, as the consumer. So you got to look at the overall picture again. You can't just look at one segment of it, if that makes any sense. Okay, I'm getting very close to throwing a B, and I might just let it go there. I could talk about other stuff. I can always find things to talk about. But, you just got to look at everything. My dad was boasting about how the stock market is just skyrocketed on a lot of different things. And you can definitely thank Trump about that. So things are definitely looking up in many different ways. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say, because otherwise I'll just do what I normally do and I'll just be repeating myself. So, folks, I think this would be probably a good time for me to end the show. I don't know when I'll be back. I have no clue. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It could be 5 months from now. It could be on my birthday. I don't know yet. So, everyone, It was good to do a show tonight. I'm glad I'm not really doing too much complaining, so that's always good. And everyone, good to be back, 2018. Everybody hopefully is doing well. And this is Walter from iWalter, and I'm going to sign off for now. Have a good one, everyone.